Oh, good morning everybody. It's coming up to 11 o'clock, so I've been awake since about, I don't know, it was about 8 o'clock or something like that. So I've been awake a while, but haven't actually done anything. See Lassie wandering around over there. Chris is still here. We're kind of slowly going to start packing up really from now, and as I say, it's nearly 11, so we're going to try and get going. We're going to try and get going for about 12. We kind of hinted at 11, but given that it's 11 o'clock already and we haven't done anything to pack up yet, then clearly we're not going to hit the 11 o'clock mark. So we're gonna try and hit the 12 o'clock mark and make our way down. I've got a few bits. I did wear my down booties last night in bed. I wore them most of the night, and I brought with me, and I'm kind of glad I did actually, my MLD balaclava. I actually did a video on this a while ago, probably a couple of years ago. I don't use it very often, but in the winter when you're in an open shelter like this, you know, when you've got air coming through, this is actually really handy because it's synthetic and you can keep your head, you know, sticking out your sleeping bag a little bit so you're not getting condensation inside the sleeping bag by, you know, burying your head below sleeping bag level. Or you can just get like a like a polyester type of balaclava, which is what I've used before. If you've seen my early videos, then you will have seen me in a synthetic balaclava. And that's my other booty. So I wore those last night, and for most of the night in bed, plus I had the pack liner, the sleeping bag liner, which I find is very useful, and that adds, I can't say scientifically or mathematically or anything, but I think it adds a degree or two, because it's like a little microclimate in there. So if you can get a good one that you don't tangle up in, and I never tangle up in my MLD one, in my liner, it's an absolute godsend, and I take it on every trip, and I probably use it 20 or 30% of the time, you know, of the different trips. It kind of depends really, but it's so compact and light that it's worth taking. I use these Rab lightweight gloves for walking yesterday and the day before when needed. More the day before. Didn't really wear gloves yesterday. And I have got some black gloves, which I think are the same as these, just black, and I tend to use those inside camp, but I don't know where I've put them at the moment. So I was wearing these, but my fingers were getting quite cold in camp. So I find these are quite good in camp. This is a Rab Pertex glove. They'll probably be good for walking too, but just don't get them damp, because once I got them wet, and then they're just completely useless when they're wet. I just didn't find them at all good. So, and then I've just got my usual gubbins and stuff down here, and I'm just putting some power into the phones, putting some power into the GoPro little power charging thing here. I got that on Amazon. It was like £15 or something. So that's quite a useful thing, you know, to charge up your batteries all in one go. I did hopefully 2, we'll see what happens, but hopefully 2 time-lapse videos on the GoPro 10 last night. The breeze is picking up, but at least it's not misty today. It's quite nice out. It's just, this is the first time that the breeze has started to pick up. It's been completely still the entire trip here until now. It's not much though, it's just more of just a breeze. That I think is swineback. So there's a swineback here, isn't it? Oh, swineback's over there. Swineback's disappeared into the mist. I'm sort of figuring out what's what. So swineback's in the mist. That's a rocky outcrop. And then Woolpax is over there somewhere. Looks like we've got the mist. Say again?
Is that Edale rocks in between here?
It could be, couldn't it? I'm still trying to find my way around.
I'm a bit confused because Pim's chair's there, no stools halfway between there and here. So I'm never sure if this is Edale Rocks. I know the pathway that leads around there is called Swine's Back.
Ah, right, okay.
Thing, you know, it's a hump, isn't it, on the that faces over. You know, if this is like an oval, that's one side of it, Swine's Back.
Yeah. So we've got the path here going down here, and this is going to head down to Jacob's Ladder. So we came up that far hill with that bump on the horizon, so that's where we came up over there. Well, we got everything packed up fairly efficiently, and we got going just after 12 when we got going, which wasn't too bad. It's just about okay. I didn't bother filming in camp. I've done several packing up videos in camp. I'll do another one sometime, but I thought this time I'd just get packing and get going. But I left my jumper on, so I've got my jumper on under this jacket, and I think on this occasion probably good that I did that, because it's definitely on the cool air side. I think it's probably about 2 or 3 degrees, but with the wind chill it's probably 0 or -1 wind chill is my guess. I haven't got the weather station out, just in my pack, but it's probably about -1 wind chill. But it is pretty up here. It's certainly, I'd say it's more difficult, more challenging in many ways here than Dartmoor. I'm not saying that Dartmoor is a piece of cake and is easy. It certainly isn't, and it certainly has its own challenges and things. I think it's generally quieter, you know, unless you're in the touristy areas, whereas this tends to be, especially around the edges, you know, particularly busy. Although I think if you gave yourself time and you went inland in a video I did a couple of days ago, I said, come on Lassie, I said that you probably wouldn't find anything if you went inland, but actually when we were following those water courses yesterday here and there, I think if you weren't too choosy and too fussy, to be honest, I think you'd actually probably find somewhere in there if you gave yourself, time to look. So I think there are places, in the middle and along those water courses where you could pitch without too much problem. Whether you get like 2 or 3 tents there, maybe not, but there was a few places there, so that might be worth investigating, in the future. So I'll definitely be back up here again. I'm hoping to go to the outdoor trade show. I went a long time ago. I was the first YouTuber, the first YouTuber to do all these things, and everyone else comes along and does it more and better. But I did do the outdoor trade show a few years ago, so there's probably a video up there somewhere. I was quite nervous and apprehensive of doing it back then. It was like I almost wasn't sure whether I was allowed to film. It's like I was trying to be secret squirrel. But I think they actually welcome YouTubers now, I think. So I will go along to that in January, and that's kind of up this way. So I'll probably try and nip up here for a day or two around then and see what it's like. It depends on the weather and whether I need to get back, but I might try and get up here then. But it is quite challenging, especially in the winter. You need to be very well prepared, so just critically as always, just make sure that all of your nighttime clothing, is kept completely dry. So if you do get wet, you have completely dry, stuff inside the sleeping bag. So I've got, head to foot coverings packed away, safe. And in fact, in the winter, I haven't used it because I just slept in my t-shirt and shirt that I just wear. But if that got wet, then I do have a long sleeve merino top which I could put on, which is dry. And then of course my down jacket is dry. So I've got I've got those items that if everything else was wet, I have a base layer and a down jacket that I could wear inside the sleeping bag, plus obviously socks, leggings, down booties. I did bring down leggings with me this trip just in case they were needed, but they weren't needed at all. I always have extra clothing for nighttime, and then also make sure that you have at least 2 hats with you.
Tony 2 hats.
Say again?
Tony 2 hats.
Tony 2 hats, yeah. Tony 2 hats, yeah.
2X Tony from Bethnal Green.
Don't mess with Tony 2 hats or else.
Tony 2 hats. Why is that, eh?
And make sure that you've got at least, well, in all honesty, I think when it comes to gloves, I think you need to make sure that you have at least 3 pairs of gloves with you of varying thicknesses. You just do not want to skimp on gloves at all. So I've got these Rab gloves here. I've got a pair of WinPro, like synthetic WinPro gloves that are really quite warm. I don't very often need to wear those, but if it was much colder, then I would be putting those on. I've got a thinner pair of WinPro gloves, and then I've also got a thin pair of gloves, and then I've got waterproof over mitts. So I've definitely got plenty of gloves. You just don't want to mess around with gloves. I would definitely not be bringing just 2 pairs. It's just too risky. You get 1 pair wet and you lose a pair, and you've just compromised your entire system. So I really do think that you need, you know, realistically at least 3 pairs really, plus a pair of over mitts, which are just over mitts, like just waterproof over mitts. So just make sure you've got plenty of hats and gloves, because they're like your extremities, and obviously your body warmth will to a degree warm up if the rest of your clothing is damp or wet when you get walking, or when you put it on the next day. And if it is wet, then just, you know, put it on as quickly as you can and just get going as quickly as you can, and you know, and hope that you warm up quickly. It's like my shoes and socks. Unfortunately, I wore the Gore-Tex I wore the Gore-Tex Innovate boots, and my feet just got wet in them. I don't know whether it's because I didn't wear gaiters, or whether they're leaking already, because they're new. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. I might be tempted to wear gaiters next time just to see whether that helps. I'm not really a big gaiter fan. I don't really like having things around my lower legs, but well, it might be worth just trying that and just see whether that makes a difference or not. So I must admit, of all the walking I've done, when I'm walking Dartmoor in the winter, it's usually not that far, I have to admit. So, you know, actual proper winter walking, you know, my main experience is when I go back 5 or 6 or 7 years and I was walking on Dartmoor, and then I was wearing my sealskin socks and shoes that leak deliberately. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, and my Innovate trail running shoes, and of course they're not waterproof at all, and that was generally the idea. And I got wet feet anyway, so I expected to get cold wet feet then. So that was like an expectation that it was going to happen. And of course I wore effectively 3 pairs of socks. Go back many years to when I was actually walking on Dartmoor in the winter, and you will see what I was doing. And I'm kind of sort of thinking, well, if I'm getting wet feet anyway, then maybe I'll have to go back to that system. But I'll try with the boots for a little bit longer. But I've never really been a big fan of waterproof boots. And if you're going to get wet feet anyway, then you may as well wear trail shoes and just know you're going to get wet feet and somehow deal with it. Anyway, like I said, I will try gaiters next time. Oh, coming to some... I really don't like these steppy things like this. It's even though it's like little steps, it's not really that much. It's like it's nothing really. It's just my legs just don't seem to like these now. These these bigger steps. It's like I've got silly little girly legs now. Oh. Anyway, we're heading down. Oh, because the old nose is running. Oh, Jesus. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is with stones. Even though they're perfectly grippy. I mean, there's no slippage at all with these shoes. These shoes are gripping these stones perfectly well. I haven't had one single indication of slippage or anything else like that. But for some bizarre psychological reason, my brain keeps worrying that I'm gonna slip on these stones. It's really quite a strange feeling, because there's absolutely no... My shoes are gripping them perfectly well. He says he, and then he suddenly slips, but you know, I'm gripping them really well. Oh God, we're heading down slowly, so let's give you a little bit of a scenery view. And the mist is coming in again. And down we go a bit more. Okay. There's more mist down here than there is up there. We're probably inside a cloud inversion here. There's that phone box over there. Alright, well, we're very near the end of the walk now. The legs and the body will be quite happy to flop in the car and start the journey south. I just give a little bit more scenery here if we walk past here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.